Hare Krishna. Thank you, dear Pawan Prabhuji, for leading the chanting, and Adi Guru Prabhu. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Tanvatpanam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Vachakalpa. Rubhischa Kripa Sindhu Bheva Japatitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namaha Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminati Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarini जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा. Okay, let's continue with our prayer. This month we have been singing prayers of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur on the auspicious beginning of this year. So today we will sing a Bhavarishesha Aloka Pravesha. Okay. विभावरी शेष आलोक प्रवेश निद्रा छाड़ी उठो जीव बोलो हरि हरि मुकुंद मुरारी राम कृष्ण हय ग्रीव नरसिंह वामन श्री मधुसूदन ब्रजेंद्र नंदन श्यामा पूतनाघातन कैटभ शातन जय दाशरथि राम यशोदा दुलाल गोविंद गोपाल वृंदावन पुरंदर गोपी प्रिय जन राधिका रमण भुवन सुंदर बर रावण अंतकर माखन तस्कर गोपी जन वस्त्रहारी ब्रजेरा राखल गोप वृंदापाल चित्तहारी बंशीधारी योगींद्र बंदन श्रीनंदनंदन ब्रज जन भयहारी नवीन नीरद रूप मनोहर मोहन बंशी बिहारी यशोदानंदन कंस निषूदन निकुंज रास विलासी कदम्ब कानन रस परायण वृंद विपिन निवासी आनंद वर्धन प्रेम निकेतन फूल शरजोजकाम गोपांगनागण चित्त विनोदन समस्त गुण गणधाम जमुना जीवन केली परायण मानस चंद्र चकोरा नाम सुधारस गाओ कृष्ण जश राखो वचन मन मोरा नाम सुधारस गाओ कृष्ण जश राखो वचन मन मोरा विभावरी शेष आलोक प्रविश निद्रा छाड़ी उठो जीव बोलो हरि हरि मुकुंद मुरारी राम कृष्ण हय ग्रीव हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. नाम कीर्तन भजन की जय, शिला भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय, जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की जय. Anyone would like to read the translation? Okay, I'll continue then.
I can.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Please.
Krishna. Thank you. The night has come to an end, and the light of the dawn is entering. O Jiva soul, rise and give up your sleep. Chant the holy names of Lord Hari, who is the giver of liberation, the enemy of the Mura demon, the supreme enjoyer, the all attractive one, and the horse headed incarnation Hayagriva. Lord Hari, Krishna, incarnated as the half man, half lion Narsimha. He appeared as a dwarf Brahmana named Upendra and is the killer of Madhu demon. He is the beloved son of King of Vraja, Nanda Maharaj, and is blackish in complexion. He is the slayer of Putana, witch, and the destroyer of the demon Kaitabha. All glories to Lord Hari, who appeared as Lord Rama, the son of King Dasharatha. He is the darling of Mother Yashoda, the giver of pleasure to the cows, land, and the spiritual senses, and the protector of the cows. And he is the lord of Vrindavan forest, the gopis' beloved, the lover of Radhika, and the most beautiful personality in all the worlds. As Ramachandra, he brought about the end of the demoniac king Ravana. As Krishna, he stole the older gopis' butter. He stole the younger gopis' clothes while they were bathing in Yamuna. He is a cowherd boy of Raja and the protector of the cowherd boys. He steals the hearts of all and always holds a flute. Lord Krishna is worshipped by the best of the yogis and is the son of Nanda. He removes all the fears of the inhabitants of Raja. He is the color of a fresh rain cloud and his form is enchanting. When he wanders about playing his flute, he looks very charming. He is the son of Yashoda and the killer of King Kamsa. He sports in the rasa dance among the groves of Raja. Krishna engages in this rasa dance underneath the Kadamba trees, and he resides in the forest of Vrindavan. He increases the ecstasy of his devotees. He is the reservoir of all the love, and is transcendental Cupid who uses his flowered arrows to increase the loving desires of the gopis. He is the pleasure of the gopis' hearts and the abode of all wonderful qualities. Lord Krishna is the life of river Yamuna. He is always absorbed in the amorous pastimes, and he is the. Oh, could you scroll up, please? And
Yes.
he is the moon of the gopis' mind, which are like the chakora birds that subsist only upon the moonlight. O mind, obey these words of mine and sing the glories of Sri Krishna in the form of these holy names, which are full of nectarian mellows.
Hari, Hari, Hari Bol. Thank you, Prabhu. Anything you would like to share that you liked from this prayer?
Prabhu, I like the way you sang it very much. It touched the heart. Thank you so much for singing. These are wonderful prayers. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Devotees' hearts, eyes, everything is filled with love, so they can only see love, they can only hear love, even though there are so many faults in what others do. Hare Krishna. Yeah, so these are, yeah, like I said, this is a wonderful prayer by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur describing the different and so many multitudes and unlimited achintya, uh, inconceivable pastimes of the Lord, um, which can even bewilder the topmost in this world, like Brahmaji, who got bewildered when Krishna was stealing butter, Krishna was playing with his cowherd boys. So like that, may our hearts also be stolen by the butter thief. But yeah, these pastimes again, so many are there, and like one of the on this day, Prabhupada was looking at the pictures painted by his disciple Jadrani, and he was asking, "What pastime is this?" And Krishna was looking sad, and then he said, "Yeah, Krishna is never bewildered. Or Krishna is never in anxiety." But then later he said, "Okay, that's okay. We can, this can be the one where Krishna had a headache." So like that, yeah, devotees are always able to connect everything with Krishna's pastimes, and yeah, Srila Prabhupada is teaching them how to always stay connected. Like the other day, also when he had asked Hanuman Goswami to give the class in Mexico, he went on a tangent on some different story, and then Prabhupada brought him back. What kind of nonsense story was that? Should speak from the Shastra. So, so yeah, Bhagavatam is filled with all these wonderful pastimes of the Lord. So we should read this. We should read the Shastra and speak from the Shastra. And yes, everything is very simple and practical, like Prabhupada says. Those rascals who don't take to it, of course, that's why they are in deep problems. But for those who take up to this simple process of Krishna consciousness, chant Hare Krishna, eat Krishna Prasadam, and remember Krishna always, for them, the life is successful. So Prabhupada traveled to Zurich, where he called where he called St. Moritz as St. Hellish, because it was filled with ice and snow all the days. But where there is a will, there is a way. Prabhupada always found a way. So even in that weather, he found his place to do his morning walk in the hallway inside the hotel wherever they were. But eventually, yeah, they have now come back to New York, and Prabhupada is happy to be amidst the devotees and take darshan of Shri Radha Govinda Dev Ji. Okay, let's continue. Kirtiraj, I had to take Prabhupada to the Indian consulate to arrange that they grant devotees visas. In the conversation with the consul, Prabhupada raised his voice loudly and spoke strongly in Bengali. None of us had any idea what was being said except for the few English words throughout the conversation. But we could understand that he was speaking quite forcefully to the man. At the end of the conversation, Prabhupada told me to present the list of devotees going to India and arrange to gather their passports. He said that the consul agreed to grant them 1 year visas. We finished the meeting and went out to the car. In the meantime, it had gotten dark and started to rain very hard. As we sat in the car, Prabhupada said, "I spoke very strongly to him, didn't I?" I agreed, and then Prabhupada looked at us again and said, "Yes, I can do this, but you cannot." He said, "I'm an old man. They don't take me seriously. But if you were to speak to someone who was older than you or your age, and if you speak very strongly, they will become offended. But I am an old man, so I can do this, but you cannot." Then, as we were driving through the rush hour traffic and the rain, I was nervous because Prabhupada was in the car. It was difficult to see because the windows were fogging over. I was thinking it was such nasty, horrible weather when all of a sudden Prabhupada turned to me and said, "The rain is very pleasing. Without the rain, nothing on the earth could be." I was shocked because it was as if he were reading my mind. I had been cursing and condemning the weather, and Prabhupada turned to me casually and said the rain was nice. As we were driving, Prabhupada asked us if we had noticed what was written on the plaque as we entered the Indian consulate. Although we had all stopped and glanced at it, we all had to tell Prabhupada that none of us could remember. Prabhupada then said that an intelligent man notices all of his surroundings. He even notices how many beams are in the ceiling above his head. He said one time one of his friends asked him, "Do you know how many cars there are in the Punjab Mail Express?" Prabhupada said he told the man how many cars there were exactly and that he was right. Another time when Prabhupada was in New York, he went to see a building on the Park Avenue for sale. We were thinking of acquiring it for the New York Temple. It was a very big building on the upper side of Park Avenue. We pulled up on the opposite side of the street in front of a small Spanish grocery store. We got out of the car and looked over at the building. The front doors of the building were open, and due to light from the front hall, a golden glow was coming out through the open doors into the evening darkness. Prabhupada said, "Ah, Sri Gauranga Hall." Prabhupada and Bali Madana were speaking about the possibility of buying this building, and the next thing I know, Bali Madana hit me in the arm and said, "Prabhupada wants a 7 Up." I looked at the Prabhupada and said, "Prabhupada, 7 Up?" Prabhupada nodded yes. But I repeated, "Prabhupada, do you really mean 7 Up?" And again he nodded yes. I said, you mean it's lemony with bubbles? Is that what you mean? Prabhupada again said, 7 Up. So I went into the store and bought a can of 7 Up. I went out to the street and gave it to Balimadana, who popped open the top and gave it to Prabhupada. And as we stood there on Park Avenue in our dhotis, Prabhupada held the can up and poured the drink straight into his mouth without touching the can to his lips. When we drove back to the temple, it was the biggest story of the day. Prabhupada drank 7 Up on Park Avenue. Radha Vallabh. We could always tell that Prabhupada was pleased that we were staying in that horrible place to preach his mission. We could always sense he felt New York was the important place to preach because he had first gone there, and that he was pleased that we were continuing where he had first brought Krishna consciousness to the West. A letter from Prabhupada to Kirtiraj and his wife, Hari Puja, 1973. You are one of the trusted managers of the New York temple. I am very much glad to see that the standard of temple activities is so nice. So Krishna has given you American intelligence. And I think this New York City is the greatest city in the world. So all you managers, cooperate together and do something gorgeous. That is my instruction to you. And if you can do it, Krishna will be very much pleased with you. Hare Krishna. Okay, I think we are heading towards the end. This is, I think, is the last, if I remember correctly, I think this is the last chapter. Hare Krishna. So we'll read this. Chapter 65, A World Tour. January 1975. From Bombay, Srila Prabhupada planned a world tour beginning January 25. That that would take him to 12 major cities within 50 days, ending back in Bombay. His journey would not only completely orbit the planet eastward, but would dip into the southern hemisphere as far as south as Venezuela. It would be the eighth time Srila Prabhupada had traveled around the world in his 10 years of preaching since going to America from India in 1965. He would enter 7 different countries and travel 34,000 miles. Due back in India by March for the second international gathering of his disciples at Sridham Mayapur, Srila Prabhupada would have to move quickly. Almost 1,000 ISKCON devotees from all over the world were planning to be in India this year for this year's festival. This year was very special because after years of work and 2 prematurely announced openings, Srila Prabhupada would at last hold the grand opening of the ISKCON Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan and install the deities of Shri Shri Gauranitai, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram, and Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar ki jai. Srila Prabhupada had come to Vrindavan in September 1974, desiring to open the temple on Krishna's appearance day. But he had been disappointed by delays in construction. At that time, Srila Prabhupada became seriously ill in Vrindavan. His fever dangerously high. He had given permission to devotees in all the ISKCON temples to hold 24-hour kirtan to pray for his recovery. He had gradually regained his health and he was now eating and translating again after several weeks. Srila Prabhupada wanted to travel before the Mayapur Vrindavan festival, but he had been delayed in Bombay waiting for the local government to grant the no objection certificate so construction of his temple could begin. When Srila Prabhupada's governing body commission secretary for South America, Hridayananda Goswami, wrote asking him to please visit South America, he replied, "Yes, I want to come there very much. Now we are in Bombay trying to get permission from the government to build our temple, and it appears that we will possibly be getting the permission next week. If this works out, then I will immediately be going to Honolulu, and from Honolulu, I can go directly to Mexico City, then Caracas. If the Bombay situation is not settled up, I may have to stay here until mid-January." But not until the end of January did the Bombay municipality finally grant the no objection certificate. Srila Prabhupada was then free to travel. Prabhupada had said on different occasions that he traveled to keep his devotees spiritually alive. Although sometimes Srila Prabhupada would say he wanted to stay in one place and write his books, he regularly felt compelled to oversee personally the growth of his Krishna consciousness mission on each continent. His time was limited, he felt, and he wanted to strengthen his disciples in their execution of Krishna consciousness so they could continue in his absence. He had to travel, but even while traveling, he would continue his translation and commentary of the Srimad Bhagavatam wherever he stopped. Despite his advanced age of 80 years, despite the disruptive travel hours, the jet lag, and the inconveniences of waiting in airports and of the custom delays, Prabhupada was determined to maintain his writing schedule wherever he went. Srila Prabhupada's literary paraphernalia was a dictating machine and reference books. A secretary, Paramahamsa Swami, a personal servant, Shrutakirti, and a Sanskrit student, Nitai, were Prabhupada's traveling entourage. In this way, he was prepared to preach and write anywhere and everywhere. His first stop was Hong Kong, Paramhamsa Swami. It was always funny to be in the airport with Prabhupada. People would just come up and without any introduction say, "Hi, what are you doing?" And Prabhupada would start speaking with them on that level. It was really different than hearing him talk with the devotees. Sometimes they would come up with a weird question. Prabhupada would give a humorous answer, and often the person wouldn't understand and would leave. Only one disciple, Trivikrama Swami, was stationed in Hong Kong, but just before Srila Prabhupada's arrival, Pancha Dravida Swami arrived from Bangkok to greet Srila Prabhupada. Sudama Vipraswamy, who had disassociated himself from ISKCON, also showed up for Prabhupada's arrival. These three sannyasis greeted Prabhupada at the airport. Trivikrama Swami had rented a luxury suite at the Hong Kong Hilton for Srila Prabhupada and had arranged a speaking engagement in the Hilton's convention hall. About 200 Indians and a few Chinese attended. After speaking 40 minutes from the first verse of the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada concluded, "If you want to get out of the Maya's activities, then you have to take to Krishna consciousness. There is no other way out. This is a scientific movement. Anyone intelligent, any thoughtful person, he must take to Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, he is doomed." Srila Prabhupada's 2 day stay, the devotees took him, during Srila Prabhupada's 2 day stay, the devotees took him to a park in the heart of the city. It was so crowded with people that Srila Prabhupada declared it hellish. When they passed people doing Tai Chi exercises, Trivikrama Swami called such activity useless. "Do not criticize," Srila Prabhupada said. As they walked on, Sudama Vipraswamy told Prabhupada of the floods in Mayapur. The devotees had lived on the roof of a shack and had to fight off the snakes seeking shelter there. Srila Prabhupada appreciated, "Yes, you did much service at that time." Prabhupada asked of another devotee the difficulties he had faced in Krishna consciousness. Each told of some incident of austerities. "What was your most troublesome time in Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada?" Trivikram Swami asked. Prabhupada became silent, then said, "Better you don't ask." In the devotee's small apartment, Prabhupada affirmed that Hong Kong was an important place to preach. Even if only one man remained, they should still develop the center there. "We can print Chinese Bhagavad Gita," Prabhupada said. "Someday China will open and we can go in." Pancha Dravida Swami had only come to visit Prabhupada, but Prabhupada told him, "You shall become our new manager for the Hong Kong center." When Prabhupada said this, the other devotees responded, "Jai, Jai." But Pancha Dravida Maharaj felt bewildered. "I have to stay in Hong Kong?" he thought. But then he remembered the letter Prabhupada had just written him. Prabhupada had stated that a devotee must be like a reaping machine. The Bengali saying is that a reaping machine will reap wheat in heaven or hell. So the devotee must serve Krishna in heaven or hell. Panchadravida had considered returning to India, but now Prabhupada said it is not very important if you go back to India. The only thing that is important is to continue service. The important thing was to distribute books in Hong Kong. Prabhupada told him it doesn't matter whether people come to the programs. Somehow he should publish books in the Chinese language and distribute them. In this way, the work would go on. Tokyo, January 27, 28. Suspicious Japanese immigration officials delayed Srila Prabhupada and considered not giving him a visa. Granting no more than a 2 day transit visa, they finally allowed him to enter. After such a poor reception, Prabhupada was royally greeted by Dai Nippon printers of Tokyo. Their white-gloved, uniformed chauffeur picked up Srila Prabhupada at the airport in a Mercedes and drove him to the ISKCON center. Even though Srila Prabhupada's BBT was printing with American printers by 1975, Dai Nippon was still competitively bidding for their work. The BBT was an important contract for any printer to gain, and Srila Prabhupada was the BBT's sole author and publishing director. A seasoned traveler familiar with the sights and sounds of almost every continent, Srila Prabhupada was accustomed to these short stops in the Orient. When in India, he could tell his godbrothers and friends about lands and peoples they had only read of in books. Yet, wherever Srila Prabhupada went, he remained fixed in transcendental consciousness. His lectures on the Bhagavad Gita in Tokyo were the same as in Hong Kong or in America. The message, surrender to Krishna. was universally and urgently applicable in every town and village. But sometimes Srila Prabhupada would spice his talks with local references. Everyone is suffering. That is a fact, Srila Prabhupada said during a class in the small Tokyo ISKCON temple. He was describing the inherent miseries in material life. Just like now, Prabhupada said, two big directors of Dai Nippon Company came to see me. We have got business with them, so they are meeting so many problems for their printing work. They are maintaining about 200,000 people to carry on their business. They have a huge establishment, huge responsibility, but there are problems also. So, this material world is full of problems. One who understands this is called Sura, or a civilized man. Citing the alternative miseries of heat and cold, Prabhupada referred to Tokyo's cold climate, which was so severe that it prevented him from taking his morning walks. This winter season comes, and we do not want chilly cold. Therefore, we are covering our body, Prabhupada said. The cause of our covering is that we are suffering. But after covering, if we feel some pleasure, what is this pleasure? It is only for the time being, some arrangement that we stop suffering. This is the nature of material enjoyment. Japanese students were attending Prabhupada's classes and Prabhupada addressed them directly. When we are in danger in Japan, Prabhupada said, you have got many times the experience of earthquake. Do you not? So what do you know? What do you do at that time? You all Japanese boys and girls, what do you do? Have you experienced earthquake? You have? What do you do at that time? Prabhupada paused in his talk, inviting the Japanese boys and girls to speak out and tell him something, but they sat still, looking at him silently. When there is earthquake, Prabhupada continued, what do you do? Hmm? But I have seen in America, everyone, they scream. Prabhupada's audience broke into laughter. And perhaps they remember about God, Prabhupada said. Naturally, they will remember. God save us. That means that we do not wish to die. That's a fact. You cannot say that death is a very good thing. No one will say, but we have to die. But you don't want death. This is suffering. And not only in death, but even in lifetime, just like we are an old man. Who wants to become an old man? Everyone wants to remain youthful. This is undesirable. This is suffering. Actually, we are suffering because we are an old man. We are suffering so many diseases, so many inconveniences. If I am not helped by 3 or 4 men, then I cannot move even. So this is suffering. Just like now in Tokyo City, Prabhupada continued, you are making very big, big buildings everywhere, all over the world, to live very comfortably. But that comfortable life is also not assured because you will have to die. Therefore, it is called a Shashvatam, not permanent. This is to be understood first. Those who are intelligent, they are very pessimistic. And one who is satisfied with his temporary so called happiness, he is called Asura. By the grace of the Krishna consciousness movement, the Asuras were becoming Suras, Prabhupada concluded. For this, he was traveling to give them education to understand what is absolute truth. Only if one took to Krishna consciousness could he become Sura, the perfect man, and make his life successful. Okay, pause here. To be successful in our life. Yes, so Prabhupada is in his elements right now, continuing to travel and preach and drink 7 Up. 7 Up. 7 Up is the talk of the town. I was reminded once we were reading one book, and I think it was, I think it was Prabhupada talking with his disciples. And I think Prabhupada was in Bombay, and he was talking about like he wanted to eat dosa one day. And Mataji, who was there, I think we read in Prabhupada Lilamrit only, I believe. So anyway, I was just reminded of that, or maybe some other book, I forget now. But he had a desire to eat dosa and idli dosa or South Indian. And this Mataji used to cook for Prabhupada. She had a puzzle to do because to make dosa, of course, she had to, you know, have a batter and ferment the batter, which was not done. So she said, "Oh, we can probably make it tomorrow." And but I think that the disciples who were there around Prabhupada, they said, "Oh, Prabhupada really wanted to eat idli dosa that day, looks like." And so so Prabhupada was in Bombay, and then I think my Guru Maharaj was also there, and somebody said, maybe he only said that, oh yeah, I think he said, Gopal Krishna Maharaj said that. Oh, Prabhupada, we have Madras Cafe here, we'll get it from there for you. And yes, and Prabhupada agreed. So anyway, Madras Cafe was very famous in Bombay. And so anyway, I think I think it was the pastime. We were reading that pastime on the day when Amren Prabhu was here, and so I was telling him the other day. I remember having a breakfast on the table, and we were talking about that pastime. And he said, "Oh, so Madras Cafe is bona fide. So next time I'm in Bombay, I'm going to have dosa and Madras Cafe." So like that, Seven Up is bona fide now. We know Seven Up can be drunk. It has no caffeine probably. So, but anyways, yeah, whatever is non-caffeinated. Um, but yeah, the way Prabhupada always used to drink is always from the top, right? I think many disciples used to remember that when Prabhupada will take a glass of water and without licking the glass to his lips, he would just drink from the top, and the water would pour like a fine flow of water and going into his mouth. And even that was so magical to many of his devotees. The way he would, each of his simple things that he would do, the way he would eat his mango, the way he would drink his water, and now today 7 Up. Mm. So yes, so like that 7 Up, we have to get out of the seven planetary systems, up and down. But yes, 7 Up, upper planetary systems. Um, that unsuccessful yogi has to probably go to some of the heavenly planets if we don't finish our business. But then we get birth again in a pious family or an aristocratic family to complete our business. So, and as Prabhupada says that, yeah, we have to finish our business. This is a miserable place. Now that we have got this opportunity, we got the human form of life, and in that human form of life, we have got the opportunity to to get associated with devotional service, to get associated with pure devotees. Um, this is the most perfect situation that we could ask for. So, we should not waste this life, as we sang in the prayer. Make our life perfect. Will make our life perfect and successful. Mm, yeah. But yeah, likes all these jokes or humor that Prabhupada has, like they're saying at the airport and asking these Japanese boys and girls about earthquake. Recently, actually, a couple of I think last couple of days ago only, I was talking to my kids, and we were planning to go to India later this year. So we were saying where we should go, and I think Harshika was saying, "Oh, I want to go to Japan. I think he wanted to see some. She wanted to see something there." And I was saying the same thing. Oh, are you not familiar? Japan has so many earthquakes. So do you want to really go there and experience some earthquakes? He said, "Oh no, that happens only once in a while." But yeah, Japan is infamous for its earthquakes. But it is good as long as it reminds us that this world is filled with earthquakes. Even figuratively, the land below our legs may slide, or we may slide into, uh, we may slide down either into the lower planets, or may slide into our death at any point in time, like Prabhupada is saying. So we always have to take every day, every moment as a gift and make the best of every moment. Okay, wonderful. Anything else? Anybody would like to say? Anything that touched your hearts? आदि गुरु प्रभु, आज तो आपका छुट्टी है, लग रहा है मंडे है.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. He just stepped out.
ओके ओके,
हाँ,
आपका भी छुट्टी है आज माता जी?
नहीं प्रभु मुझे जाना है पर ये
अच्छा.
7 Up हम literally like it is so wonderful that I was just telling Adi Guru Prabhu 2 days ago I had read a Prabhupada disciples little excerpt on 7 Up and then
Uh-huh.
it's all started in a flight, international flight, and
Hmm.
Prabhupada was not eating anything, but the lady came with drinks, and he said, "What do you have?" And she said, "7 Up." So he said, "Okay, I'll take 7 Up." And his two other disciples who were sitting next to him were very surprised. So they also were gladly like, "Okay, we'll also take 7 Up." So they also took 7 Up. Then they said, we have to wait until Prabhupada makes it into prasadam. So
Hmm.
Prabhupada took the first sip, then they also took the first sip. Then Prabhupada said, "Ah," and then they also said, "Ah." That was so good. And then for the remaining flight, Prabhupada took it like 3 or 4 more times, 7 Up. Then when they landed, Prabhupada's servant who was with him, a few days later, some person came and said, "What gift can we get for Prabhupada?" And after much thought, that servant said, "Bring a can of 7-Ups." Prabhupada likes 7-Ups. So that was so funny to just hear that again.
Do we get 7 Up here in US? I don't know. I know
It's
maybe
no
this.
problem. Now that we know the glories of 7-Up, I'm going to really find out. Maybe serve in a home program. It's bona fide.
Yes.
Uh,
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, anybody else would like to say anything? Okay. All right, so let's pause here for today. Thank you so much. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Anantakoti Vaishnavinda ki jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai Prabhupada Leelamrit ki jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo
Hari Bol.
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare